Yeah, I found that a part of me entering that relationship was to kind of hide behind someone else, and I paid for it.
So you felt like the decision to be in the relationship gave you permission to hide.
And once I left that relationship, I had to kind of, some things this is his fault or this is his fault. And then I had to be real with myself and say, like, no, this was an inner child decision. You wanted to feed that comfort. You got that comfort, and it came at a cost, at an expense to you. So when I ended that last relationship, I said to myself, no more.
Welcome to the I Am Worthy podcast, where we don't believe in choosing between this or that, but instead we are worthy of it all. I am your host, Brittany Noel, and despite being a licensed therapist, I know better than anybody what it's like to struggle with the doubt and fears behind the pursuit of your success in life, love, and your purpose. So join me as I uncover the secrets to becoming unapologetically worthy so that you can have, do, and be all things.
Welcome to the I Am Worthy podcast. This is our season premiere, and not only is it the first episode of our season of our brand new podcast, I Am Worthy, but it is also the first episode of 2021, and I am excited for it. So I wanted to start our premiere episode off with a gladiator who is going to share with us her journey of how she realized that she was worthy of all things, you guys. If you haven't already, make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are still trying to get our first 100 subscribers. So if you guys could do me a wonderful favor of giving us a comment and a subscribe on our YouTube channel, it would mean the world to me. Now that that's out the way, let's go ahead and hop into our first premiere episode, the I Am Worthy podcast, the Gladiator edition, featuring Miss Ashley Byrd. On today's episode, you guys, y'all know how it goes. I have a gladiator here with me to talk about her journey and how she was able to embrace herself fully to be who she is today. So you guys, join me in welcoming Miss Ashley Byrd to the show.
Oh, sweet, hello.
Welcome. For you guys who don't know, she is a financial advisor. She is also a makeup artist out of Dallas, Texas, and she is the co-host on A Brown Girls podcast.
Yep.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
First of all, you guys, in the comments, just let her know how gorgeous she is, because this face, do y'all see it? Okay, it's gorgeous.
I can't be a makeup artist and walk around without a beat face.
I know, right? That's bad advertisement.
It is.
It is. Okay, so I keep looking at you. I'm like, she is okay. All right. Do you do classes? Okay.
I do, and I do.
I'm saying it's cute. This is very good. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely.
I am seriously excited to have you here. So my guests know by now that I stalk people on Instagram. So you guys, I found Ashley on Instagram, and immediately what stood out to me was just your overall presence. And, a lot of people post, really good pictures on Instagram, but you just seem very authentic and very real. There was this realness to you, where it's very apparent that you just glow. Have you been told that before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that.
Awesome. Where do you think this glow comes from? What is it that people are seeing?
I'm just genuinely optimistic, or just more of a happy-go-lucky person, kind of let stuff roll off your back. And I kind of just walk with the notion that everything is going to be okay eventually. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if it's not okay in the moment, eventually it will be.
Right.
And so, I allow myself to have my downtime or my, my bad moments. So it's not just that toxic positivity where, you know what I'm saying? I allow myself to be real and say I'm experiencing some really crappy moments, and right now I'm up. So I think it's the authenticity that kind of comes through, and people feel drawn to that.
Exactly. And I love the authenticity of it. And that's kind of why I wanted to have you on the show. Why do you think it's hard for people to fully embrace themselves inside out?
Probably trauma. I mean, you're just conditioned. I think it's like nature versus nurture, right? There's aspects of things that are naturally passed down, scientific things that just occur chemically in the brain. And then there are ways that you're nurtured, the ways that you grew up in this world, whether family, no family, or, attention, lack of attention, or just traumatic events that happen over time, whether that's war with yourself, or just whatever. There's so many other reasons why you could be your self-worth or your authenticity could be impacted. And so you could just kind of walk through the world in a meek way, or just kind of like a shell of yourself.
And I love the fact that you said trauma, because as a therapist, I actually specialized in trauma most of my career. And I definitely can see how when you experience traumatic events, it kind of changes the way that you see yourself and the way you see the world. And it shows up in our behaviors. And one of the things that as a coach that I do is I work with women to correct the self-sabotaging behaviors that they do that stops them from living full out. Tell me, what does it mean to you when I say live full out? What does it mean to you to live a full life and not one that's minimized because of what you may have been through?
So I think that's like kind of a two-part question for me. So like the foundation of that is going to be like acceptance that I have autonomy, full autonomy over my life. Sometimes we relinquish our autonomy over ourselves to others, whether it's a significant other or a parent or whatever. Sometimes we lean on them because either they know best for us and that's what we're taught. And so you kind of lean on that. And I've fallen victim to that myself. But for me, the foundation of living a full life is accepting that this life is my own, choices good or bad, and accepting those consequences. That's the foundation for me. And then part two is doing the things, going after the things that I want, right? I'm a full-time financial consultant that I work 16-hour days a lot of the time. So being able to do my podcast and to also be a makeup artist, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of organization, and a lot of will. You can't go out and do things you're not passionate about. And so for me, exploring those things despite what I'm doing to make ends meet, right? There's need versus want. And I make sure I strike up a good balance between the two and make sure that I, strike up a balance between the people that I love as well. And try my best to love on myself in the process, which is a lot of work.
Yeah. And I think you said a few things, and it's what I'm hearing you say is like not succumbing to this idea that one, you have to be any one thing. Right. And that was something that I had to grow out of, which thinking that, I'm a therapist. That's just what I do. I'm a coach. That's what, and it's like, there are so many facets to who you can be if you allowed yourself to be. So I'm really big on that allowing, and it's crazy that we even have to give ourselves allowance. Like, what would you say has been one of the things that you've found yourself having to allow yourself, give yourself permission to do or be?
Wow. Dope, honestly, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
I grew up, we talked about nature versus nurture. I grew up as the youngest sibling, but I was kind of in the background of my older sibling. Like, she was the cute one. She was the talented one. She had this, she had that. And so she just received more attention naturally. She just received more attention. And I grew very comfortable kind of being the wallpaper in the room to her, the shining star in the room. And so over time, through sports and education and through, just kind of growing, I've allowed myself to kind of come into my own. And in that, I've been able to find things that agree with me, whether it's friend groups or interest or you fill in the blank. And a part of my dopeness or accepting that is saying, hey, you're not that girl anymore. You're not the one that's the fly on the wall. You're not in the background.
I love that.
You're center stage. This is your life. And, that inner child in me has to kind of talk myself down sometimes because I will be the center of attention and will shy away from that attention. So I have to talk to myself regularly to say, hey, no, you deserve this. Accept this, receive this. And, sometimes people give out compliments and you see people that get like, when compliments are given out, I am that person sometimes because it makes me uncomfortable to receive that attention. And so it's really a lot of self-work that I have to do. But honestly, kind of standing in my dopeness is one thing that...
I'm so happy you said that because that was one thing I actually had to learn how to do. So when I tell people like, I wouldn't wear makeup. Like years
that's
ago.
A crime, baby.
Child, listen. So, but it was me giving myself a permission. Like you said, it was because I didn't want to attract attention. And so I did the exact opposite. The self-sabotaging behavior was, okay, well, if you don't feel comfortable with people looking at you, then don't be attractive. So, my first love was hair. So my hair was always done, but I would not wear makeup. My clothes would be baggy. I would wear blacks. I would wear browns, like colors that didn't attract. And I didn't even, it was all subconscious. I didn't even realize what I was doing until I really addressed and said, okay, well, why is it that you feel like you want to blend in? What is the fear about standing out? And I had to really address the fact that standing out means that I will have to be unapologetic about the things that make me great and the backlash that comes with it. Because you're gorgeous. And I'm like, who are you hiding from? Okay.
Thank you. And sometimes it's strange because like growing up, that's not how I felt. But outwardly, what people see is what you're seeing. Right. And so I battle with okay, you don't want to be seen, and these people think of you as beautiful. And so there's just like gap there, and I have to like be mindful of that gap so that I'm not sabotaging myself to make my inner child comfortable. So
that was a whole word. She said, not sabotaging herself to make her inner child comfortable. And so many of us make decisions based on what our inner child wants, not realizing that's the smallness in you. That's the purpose of the inner child, right? To keep you safe, to keep you comfortable. How do you honor the higher version of who you are when your inner child is saying, blend in, don't make a fuss?
Breathing, honestly. Like sometimes I have to just sit there and say, this is just a thought. This is not the reality. Right. You just need to take a couple deep breaths, slow down, and let these thoughts pass. You don't have to act on these thoughts that you're feeling. They're just emotions. They're fleeting. They'll go. So I give myself that moment to feel it. It's real, right? Like don't want to ignore it or mask it. That's a real feeling. Breathe through it, and then kind of give myself 5 minutes, and then I just kind of get back to it. Right. That's just what I do.
And was there ever a time where you like literally felt like you making that mental shift from being, the person who didn't want to be seen to shifting into saying, okay, I am that chick. I am dope. And the world's just gonna have to deal with it.
Truthfully, at the end of my last relationship, that was the case. Really? Yeah, I found that a part of me entering that relationship was to kind of hide behind someone else. And I paid for it.
So you felt like the decision to be in the relationship gave you permission to hide.
And once I left that relationship, I had to kind of, some things I was, this is his fault or this is his fault. And then I had to be real with myself and say like, no, this was an inner child decision. You wanted to feed that comfort. You got that comfort, and it came at a cost, at an expense to you. So when I ended that last relationship, I said to myself, no more. Like, there's just no reason. You're only getting older. There's really no reason to continue to play small when there's so many opportunities out here for you to go and try and take advantage of. So that would say the beginning of 2020, which is when I started a Brown Girl podcast, is when I was like, you know what, I'm just go for it. And if it works, it works. And if it don't, then I tried it.
Exactly. And that's what it really means to bet on yourself, is what I'm hearing you say. Because it's many times another way that we minimize ourselves is we wait for other people to say, oh yeah, girl, you should do a podcast.
Yep.
When many of us have these thoughts already and we're just sitting on them, waiting for someone to affirm us. But giving yourself permission, it sounds like that's what you did.
Yep. That's exactly what I did.
I love that. Tell me, what about that relationship gave you permission to hide?
I knew that he was going to make a lot of the decisions. I knew that he would kind of take control of the situation and in me. And so in a lot of the outcomes that I wasn't happy with, it was easy to say, well, he did that.
It's his fault.
He did that. But it was because I didn't want to take responsibility for myself. I didn't want to own up to that and truly be seen, I suppose. And he let me do that.
Wow. Now, on the day that you came to that realization, what kind of day was that?
Girl, a therapy day.
Exactly. I said those are those ugly cry days where I'm just like, I wrote a book called Made for This. And in the book, I talk about my day where I took responsibility for we could be sisters at this point. I'm just like, I've known her my entire life. But yeah, it's like you have to take responsibility for all the ways in which you've limited yourself.
Yep.
Like, it's not until you stop pointing fingers that you can give yourself the permission that you need to level up.
There's a freedom in that, right? Like, taking that responsibility, a lot of people avoid it. And so they go on in their lives blaming others. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's science. It doesn't matter if this is how you came up. You now have the choice and the option to take control of your destiny.
Yeah.
You can change some stuff around. Do that.
And for me, that was one of my shifts because I had to, I'm a Virgo. So I tend to cling to control. And so when breakdowns would happen, I found freedom in taking responsibility of the breakdown because then at least I can control what happens next.
Yep.
So as long as I say, okay, you know what? You did that. You're right. It was my fault because I saw it coming. I allowed it to happen. Whatever it was, I'll take it so that at least I can change the next page. But if you don't take ownership, you can't do that.
Correct.
That's deep. That's deep. So yeah, you had your ugly cry day. I had my ugly cry day.
No makeup.
Girl. It's an ugly day. It's sweatpants. Don't talk to me. I'm in the. Can't do it. Yeah, it's tough. But I have found that if you do it, the benefits are you. Yep. Because you literally glow and you can't get there until you really do your work. Yep. So I applaud you for that.
I feel like I've had a sense of relief and been able to kind of just deep breathe and say, this is my own. Yeah. So if I win, I win. If I fail, I fail. At least it's mine. Exactly. And I'm not blaming someone else for, how my life turns out.
Absolutely. In this process, as you continue to embrace who you are and fully, show yourself to the world, are there times where you find yourself doubting yourself? Like, am I doing the right thing? Should I do something different?
Absolutely. Because I'm a Gemini and I have many interests. I worry sometimes, like, am I spreading myself too thin? Gotcha. I worry about that. And I will, get off of work after like 12 hours or 15 hours of work and then pivot to editing my podcast material and then try to get some sleep and then wake up the next day and do a makeup look before work starts to get some social media content. And
girl,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Social media. First of all, I beat my face when I'm going to record videos. You have to do it very often because you're a makeup artist. Yep. It takes time.
It's an investment.
Especially in the pandemic where you ain't got nowhere to go, but you still got to have a beat face.
Where am I going?
Nowhere.
To the living room. To the internet.
Exactly.
And so sometimes I'm like, can I do this all? Can I juggle all of this? And, there's this saying that, master of none. I worry about that for myself. Like, okay, Are you spreading yourself too thin? Are you doing too many things? Are you not doing to the best of your ability because you want to put your hand in so many different baskets? And so I do have those thoughts of, am I cut out for this or am I just, bouncing around too much?
Right. Yeah. What do you find normally helps you through those moments?
Focusing in on one thing, which is challenging for me. Like my mind is just everywhere. Prioritizing helps a bit. Kind of writing out my day in my journal. What do I want to tackle today is helpful. And then having friends that are also very goal oriented and very focused. Because they know, Byrd, she just gets, she just gets, I get excited about things.
Yeah, and you want to go on.
Yes, and they'll just kind of help keep me grounded and keep me focused on what I said I would do for that day or that week.
Right. What I love about what I do as a coach is really showing people that it's an intentional decision to say, I'm going to be the most beautiful butterfly I want to be today. And I don't have to explain myself to anyone. Yep. So many people feel like they have to explain themselves. Right? So what would you say for the women who are like, okay, I'm trying to get on that level. Not there yet, still a caterpillar. But they aspire to be that unapologetic about their dopeness. What would you say to them?
I would say it's a process. It's a process. Take your time and give yourself grace. Yeah. But it is a daily thing that you have to make a choice. Like you said, intention is important and it's important on a daily basis. Sometimes it's not going to be pretty, but at least you got up and tried that day, right? As opposed to stringing together a month or 2 months of not trying. Right? So for me, I think saying things aloud helps. So just giving yourself permission to say affirmations in front of the mirror, speak that life into yourself, over yourself. And it may not seem like there's a big difference on a day-to-day basis, but if you kind of zoom out at a macro level or a 30,000 foot level, over time, you'll see that those affirmations have begun to manifest in your life. And you'll see the fruit over time. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say has been your greatest like transformation that you've seen in yourself since you ended the relationship to now?
Just taking pride in the choices that I make and holding my head high despite my faults because we all have them.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how much therapy you go to. You're never going to be perfect.
There's
the quest
not a
is not
perfect
for
person.
perfection. It's self-awareness. So I accept.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Self-awareness is it. And so for the areas in my life where I do well, I stand proud in that. In the areas of my life that are struggling, I'm realistic about them. So I can have honest conversations with peers at work or coworkers outside podcast. Like I give myself permission in realness to have those conversations with people. And so, yeah.
And you said something really key there, celebrating your strengths. Because it's like when you are unable to see your strengths, you have a very unbalanced view of who you are. Because we know our negatives, right? We know our growing points. And so it's easy to become overwhelmed in what's wrong with us because we've lost sight of what's actually right.
Yep.
What's actually good about you.
Writing that stuff down, because I did have negative self-thoughts. And my therapist told me, just get a sheet of paper out, draw a line down the middle, and on the left-hand side, write your negative thoughts. Untrue thoughts is what she called them. And then on the right-hand side, I'm a Christian. She was like, write what the Bible says or what God says about you.
There you go.
So it was, I was able to kind of like cry and write out all my thoughts. And then on the right-hand side, it kind of forced your body into this like positive, more optimistic, more realistic feeling because you were writing down what your Lord and Savior says about you in the text. And so I am strong on like spirituality as well. And so I read a lot of self-help books and listen to Oprah's Super Soul podcast because all of her guests are on there giving it up. Giving out free information. I absorb that. So that's the kind of stuff that I continue to listen to feed my soul. Because those self-doubt thoughts they're gonna happen.
They're going to happen. And, I always say that with the next level of growth comes your next level of insecurity. Until that new level becomes your norm, right? It's going to feel shaky, right? And for women who are very new, because even when I began, I got the pictures to prove it. Goodness. When I began to start embracing who I was and I started trying to dress, wear clothes that actually fit and, wear makeup, it was like so foreign, but I remember just being so happy with the fact that I was trying, and so when people do applaud me on my makeup, I'm like, girl, look, YouTube, okay? Self-taught YouTube. Yep. And that was my investment in myself because I was like, I want to be proud about what I see when I look in the mirror. I want to feel good in my skin, makeup or not. And it meant investing in myself. Yep. So it's definitely a process. Yeah. I got the pictures to prove it, y'all. It is definitely a process. It ain't gonna happen overnight. Especially when I tell women, getting to the point where it's like your whole wattage goes up. The more you invest into yourself, it's like you go from being that 30-watt bulb to that 100-watt, and you continue to just radiate. Yep. And that's where you are.
And you attract like people in that space. Because there's tons of people that'll hang out with you down here at 30-watt.
Because they're comfortable around you.
Comfortable there. That's the energy I'm giving off. That's the energy they're comfortable with. We're cool being stuck together.
Exactly. Have you experienced where, as your wattage began to increase, that the people, certain people around you were not able to handle it or they weren't happy for you?
Yeah, for sure.
She's like, what? Was that a question?
Yeah, for sure. But it's just everyone comes to their growth in their own time. I've had friends, glow up in front of me before I was ready to leave my 30-watt, and it was kind of like, please don't, end our friendship. I love you. I'm just not
there
ready
yet
to move yet, and luckily I've maintained some of those friendships and others have gone on. And that's just kind of how it works. Some people are uncomfortable seeing you in a different space, and sometimes people have those self-doubt, those feelings of self-doubt about themselves, and you succeeding feels like a threat to them.
Absolutely.
that's just how it goes. But the more you stay par your course and focused on what you're doing and your success in your path, those people matter a lot less.
So it's 2021. Okay, we're still weathering this pandemic storm. What advice would you give to women who want to make the most out of this year? Because you have made significant strides for yourself, in the last year. And for women looking to do that same thing, what advice would you give them?
I would say go at your own pace, to be honest, or go at your own speed, right? 2020 was, I took advantage of 2020, I'll say that. And, 2021 may be a year for, to run full speed, or it may be opportunity to slow down and take inventory of what's working and what's not working. So I would say don't look left or don't look right to what other people are doing, but just like be true, check in with yourself, write down your goals, write down what the obstacles have been for you in the past, and kind of bridge the gap, look into resources that help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be.
Gotcha.
And then understand that it's a marathon. I talk to my mentor a lot because I like to do a lot of different things. And she's just like, you can't do it all at one time. Not well, you can't. And she's just like, 1 year it's about family, maybe the next year it's about business growth. It's just a matter of pacing yourself and being realistic about your capacity, the resources you have available to yourself, and then also putting yourself out there when that opportunity presents itself.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
I love that. I think that you have really been a huge, I keep calling you a light, but that's what it is. Okay. For the women who are looking to be as vibrant, as they see themselves in their head being. So I thank you for being a demonstration for that.
Thank you.
Because I feel like if people can see a real life example and see, okay, she's real and, this is authentic, that they can start to believe, okay, I can do it too.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I received that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell the people where they can find you on Instagram, social media.
Yeah, so I have Instagram. It's @ForSureBird. I share just motivational stuff, outfits, makeup, beauty tips. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes.
My podcast is at Brown Girl Podcast, at A Brown Girl Podcast on Instagram and Twitter.
Right.
Very active on both. We're on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple, Google.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, you guys go follow her. Her Instagram is gorgeous. And I love your captions. And I'm just like, yeah, she has it all together over here. So yeah, go follow her on Instagram. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys, this has been another Gladiator edition of the I Am Worthy podcast. I thank you so much for tuning in, because I just feel so bubbly after speaking with you. But seriously, I think that this is the year that we really invest in ourselves and water ourselves so that we can continue to up our wattage, because you playing small serves absolutely no one. So I hope you guys are taking notes on today's episode. Until next week, when I release the next podcast episode, I will talk to you guys later.
That was another episode of the I Am Worthy podcast. If you like what you heard, please comment below and tell me how this content is helping you. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am so happy to be with you on this journey as we are all becoming more of ourselves in every area of our lives. Until our next episode, I will catch you guys later.